So it's one of our core needs is to belong to a group. So anything that threatens that sense of belonging is hardwired into us as a no-go zone. So sharing a vulnerability like, these are the thoughts I have, and risking rejection, risking judgment, risking isolation. So I think we curtail sometimes parts of who we are in an attempt to belong, in an attempt to stay attached, or we believe that our experience is unique to us, that our feelings, that the stories we're telling ourselves, that the experiences we're having, I'm probably doing wrong. And if I had $1 for every time someone leaned into me.
Let's meet someone who understands human behaviour from the boardroom to the bedroom. I'm Kate Save. The Inspired CEO starts now. Welcome to The Inspired CEO, where each episode we explore the innovative wellness practices that are driving success and longevity in the modern business world. In this interview, we speak with Sabina Read, one of Australia's most trusted voices in psychology and human behaviour. As a media commentator, speaker and co-host of the Human Cogs podcast, Sabina blends warmth and wisdom with real-world insight. She shares her journey, proudest moments, lessons from burnout, and how she balances work, family, and health while helping others thrive in business and in life. Thanks, Sabina, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Kate.
Now, you've got a really interesting career. So where did it all start for you? Why did you become so interested in psychology?
Well, I think the story goes that when I was 17, I said to my mum, she tells me I said this, I don't recall saying it, that I wanted to study psychology after school, but I didn't want to listen to people's problems all day.
Yes.
And when she told me that, initially I thought that sounds really counterintuitive. What kind of psychologist would not want to listen to people's problems? But in hindsight, and this was, many decades ago, there was no positive psychology.
Right.
And so there wasn't a framework around looking at people's strengths and what they're doing well. Instead, psychology was very aligned to the medical model. It was about what's broken, how do we fix it? It was about pathology and clinical labels. And even 17-year-old me knew that I wasn't interested in that. So I actually went and did, my first degree was in communications, and I worked in PR and marketing. And
you travelled the world as well, didn't you? You worked overseas?
I worked in San Francisco and in London. Wow. And then about 10 years into that process, I circled back and I thought, no, I really do. I'd spent a lot of my corporate work in PR and marketing observing what was happening around me. So I would be there to do the job I was doing, but I would be thinking, almost coming out of myself and looking down in a team meeting or in any setting within the workplace and thinking, what's happening here that these people aren't hearing each other, or there's a level of disconnect or agitation, so I was sort of doing it intuitively anyway, and I thought, I'm going to go back, and that's when I went back and retrained as a psychologist. So I think this combination of comms, business, and then psychology has been probably what I was looking for when I was 17, but I didn't know what that looked like.
Well, I did think you were going to take me back to when you were 17 or in your VCE years and your mum had an article published in the Age newspaper. What was that about exactly?
So that was an interesting one. So I think I have been very influenced by my parents, who isn't, for better and worse.
Absolutely.
And as parents, we're doing the same.
Yes.
And my mum was a marriage counsellor for many years, and she wrote an article about simultaneous orgasms. I'm in year 12. There it is in the newspaper, and of course everyone at school's talking about this infamous article. Her point, just in case anyone's interested, was that they're not the norm, and perhaps we shouldn't be striving for the simultaneous big O together at the same time.
Yes.
But I think, when you're 17, well, parents are embarrassing. That's our job.
Yeah.
But that was a humdinger.
Yes, and I think now, how would I cope with that? I had a really extroverted mum who would grab my dad and kiss him passionately in the kitchen. So all of my friends loved my parents because they were so open and out there. And Mum would happily talk about sex, even with my father, and I would be mortified. So I know that I probably would have moved countries, but how do you deal with that as a teenager? Were you pretty open as well?
Very open.
Yeah,
And we
so
had a lot of
good.
conversations at home, and obviously it's influenced me. And
Yeah.
now I'm having conversations. No topic is off the table for me.
Yes.
I've done talkback radio for 12 years. And so
people call in with anything, don't they?
you don't know what they're going to call in with. So I think, I'm open to, and I would rather be having those meaningful conversations than nice weather we're having and pass the salt, please. Let's talk about, and how wonderful for you to see your parents expressing love and affection.
Always, yes.
So as I say, as parents, sometimes I say things and then I almost facetiously, but partly seriously, say to my now adult kids, well, that's something you can take to a therapist. Something that I've done. That's good fodder for you to work on. Parents and, well, all humans, they're mirrors.
I love that. Now, is there a moment that you can think of with your children where they mirrored something you would do or say where it was completely unexpected?
Well, I think when I think of people around us or the world around us as mirrors, what I think of is that when we're triggered, when we're frustrated, when we're hopeful, whatever's coming up in us, it's easy to point the finger out to our boss, to our partner, to our child, to a stranger in the street who's cut us off. It doesn't matter who this other person is. But they are just mirroring what's happening within us. And so it's an invitation, I think, to turn whatever seems to be happening out there, what's happening in here. And I always say all emotions have their place. They all welcome, and they're an invitation to listen and to course correct. So I don't like the idea that there's positive and negative emotions. They just all are. And one of the things I love most about my work is how it moves from the professional world to the personal world. And people often say, how is it that 1 minute you're facilitating a leadership team or doing a keynote to 1,000 people and then talking with an individual on a very intimate topic? And the answer is because of the universal human experiences that we all have. And it doesn't matter if we're in the boardroom or the bedroom.
Yes.
The same vulnerabilities, the same needs, the same drives, the same shadows show up.
And would you think now, having more experience and being a little bit older, that it's changed the way you practice? And
yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe what happens with age is you care less about what other people think. I think in the early days, one of the things that's been difficult for me as a psychologist is people have an assumed understanding of what that means. And I think that's true for many of us in business. If you say you're an exercise physiologist, people jump to what that means.
Yes.
And they make assumptions, and I feel like...
they don't want to go out for dinner with the dietitian because they'll be watched.
They'll be watched. Well, try going out to dinner with a psychologist because you'll be analysed. And people often say, do you know what I'm thinking? I say, no, that's a psychic, not a psychologist. But I think I have found that difficult, this sense of sometimes being pigeonholed.
Yes.
Oh, I understand what you do. You have a couch, you have a box of tissues, you have a clock, and you explore the inner child. That's what people's assumption is. And I don't. And I love the variety of my work and being able to speak to people. As I say, on radio it's 100,000 people, or coaching one individual, one leader, it's one person.
Yes.
So we create our own paths. We create our own parameters of the work that we want to do. And I think too many of us capitulate, if you like, to other people's expectations, and that could be parental expectations that are still playing out in our minds, social expectations. A boss who has been very influential might say, I see your career going in this direction. And we need to tune into self to see what feels authentic. And I think that word's overused, but it's a powerful word.
Hearing all of that, the first thing I think about is being a parent, the influence that we're having on our children. And I think if you were to give advice, or that may not be the correct word because it's not necessarily advice, but for parents that are watching, what insight can you give them into their behaviour and how their children
being influenced by them?
Yes, yeah.
Well, the first is every parent's doing their best, the best they know how. And in that process, every parent's making some big mistakes too.
Yeah.
So let's just accept that.
Okay.
You know, we don't have a manual. We're finding our way as well. And I think when a young person is able to look at their parent through the lens of a whole human, a flawed human, instead of, you know, when children are very young, they think, maybe the age that your children are even now, think that you know everything and you're the wise one, and they'll turn to you.
Oh, they're going past that phase. They're nearly at the next phase.
Then the next phase, which is the teenage years, that's when they reject everything you say. What would you know? You would know nothing. And then I think as they reach adulthood, they you know, move somewhere between those two. But for a young person or a young adult to be able to see their parents through the lens of flawed humanity is a real coming of age. I know that they've got wisdom, and I also know that they struggle themselves. And of course, all of us are trying to carve out a life, and we all carry stories from our own childhood. It doesn't matter how old we are, there's this little person inside us. And I often say when I walk into a boardroom and I'm working with a leadership team, I'm looking at I'm hearing stories and I'm hearing frustrations or issues that are the voices of children. And I don't mean immaturity, but the parts of us that are still showing up that served us well in childhood and are now sitting around the boardroom.
Wow.
That's in all of us.
That is so interesting too, because we often say we don't feel as old as we are. And that's because we're feeling all of these.
Well, I think there's just parts of us that have been heavily influenced in our younger years, and we often bring those templates and those experiences into our adult lives, our adult relationships and our work. And the key here is self-awareness, to understand where that part's come from and why it's been dialed up. And do I need it anymore? Do I need that part to drive the car or the ship or whatever is driving us forward? Or can I let that part, can I turn the volume down on that part? Because we needed it then, we needed it when we're a little child. Do we need it now as a CEO, as a leader, as a parent, as a lover, as a friend? That part was necessary when we were young. Is it necessary now? And often it's not in the same way. And I think that's one of the greatest challenges of any human life, is to work through some of the stories and the experiences from our younger years and to tease them apart as to what's relevant and what we need now to move forward to a fuller, richer, authentic life.
So straight away I picked up on, you call this coaching, and all I can think about as you're saying there is, there's a lot of work to do unravelling these things. What parts don't I need? And that's a whole different way of looking at psychology if you do picture the box of tissues and the couch and the timer and the notepad.
And speaking to 1,000 people, speaking to 100,000 people, I think I'm always interested in, and from a business perspective and also an impact perspective, I'm interested in depth, so intimacy and depth of connection, but also reach. Because when you're working with one person, it's deep work, but only one life is being changed, or perhaps the ripple effect of their partner and children and colleagues are being changed too indirectly. So I like that mix of reach to a lot of people, knowing that it may not be as intimate an experience, but someone even hearing you on the radio may change something about the way they behave or think or feel.
Yeah, and I think the radio is interesting because if you're going through someone's car, there's a very good chance they're on their own and they feel like you're having that conversation with them because there's nobody else there. So the radio is an interesting...
And a setting like this as well. I mean, this has got a reach. Yes. I imagine that it's meaningful to you as well in some way. That
absolutely, you do what you need more of, and I want to learn from people about what they've learned and share their stories. And I think on the other side of that, you hope that it's making impact and helping people somewhere along their way if they feel lost or they want inspiration. And I love that you course corrected your journey as well and went back and studied, because it's not a short course.
No, it's 6 years full-time to be a psychologist. But I don't see careers as linear. I don't think they are for many people. And I think that's also a fallacy to think, you know, I should know what I want to do when I'm in my teenage years and I'll stick to it. And being able to just explore and come, you know, learn and grow and change the direction we're heading, to be fluid, I think, in a career. Well, it's meaningful for me. I mean, it's not for everyone, but it has been for me. And, you know, people often ask, what's my business strategy? I get asked that question a lot. And how have I pulled together all of these different threads? And it's almost as simple as this, is that having the ability to connect with people, whether it's one-on-one or in a group or a larger setting.
Or through the media. So you've done a lot of work.
Which is a much larger, that could be millions of people. But connection, I come back to my values. I think that's what we, and values and a business plan are not the same thing, but values are the roadmap to that plan for me.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. And so you started in the first season of MAPS. Tell us about that. What was that experience like on the inside?
Well, I mean, that's 1,000 years ago now, and now everyone has an idea of what MAPS is about. The first season, it really was quite experimental, and when I was first asked to be part of it, I was invited to watch the original series, which came out of Europe. And when I watched those, initially I said, this sounds like madness. But then I watched the show that had come out of Europe, the original series. And it almost had kind of an SBS sensibility about it. It was quite organic, and people moved in, one partner moved into the other partner's house. So it wasn't what we're seeing now in MAPS, which is almost a big brother meets speed dating. I'm not sure what we'd call it. And then I also did a lot of thinking about arranged marriage, and arranged marriage works for many, many people around the world. And also many of us who choose our own partners, it doesn't work out so well.
Interesting, yes.
So there is actually some, you know, logic to allowing others to, at least in theory.
Yes, in theory.
To match us. So I was hopeful that the experience would allow conversations around, why do we fall in love? Who do we become attracted to? What happens when we hit conflict? Why do we seek outside our relationships? You know, there's so many universal questions in the relational space that I was hoping we would, explore.
Yeah, and thinking back now, because we met, must be over a decade ago now, I remember you telling me about this show. And now I'm picturing standing in a car park outside of where we were working on a project together, and you told me about this show, and I had no idea what you were talking about. And thinking about that now, I'm like, oh, that's what you were describing.
So maybe I was filming it at the time or something.
I think you must have been.
Yeah, well...
Because it was hard to understand the concept. It was like, what do you mean? I don't understand. People getting married on TV.
I know, it's an unusual concept. And look, it wasn't what I wanted to pursue.
And you did the living room, so how was that experience?
No, well, the living room I've done, but I also did something called Dream Job, which was... Actually, talking about it was almost like work experience for adults in the if you like. So people who had always dreamed of being a such and such. So someone had always dreamed of being a florist. Someone else had always dreamed of being an interior designer. So what was their dream job? And we took them on this journey, because I worked with Seek for 7 years as their brand ambassador, and created a lot of content with them. We worked with these individuals, I worked with these individuals. I was the host and the expert on that show. What was their dream job? What were the barriers that had stopped them in the past from exploring this dream job? And I think that's pretty universal for a lot of us too.
Absolutely. I can think of a heap of friends in my circle that want to do something or
Yes.
wanted to and have let it go and didn't do it.
Yeah, so that was the premise of Dream Job. And I help them explore what those barriers are, and often there are practical barriers, like I need to earn a certain amount of money, I'm a provider, or people rely on me, so I can't explore this dream job. For others, it's I'm not good enough.
Right.
There's that story. For others, my parents always wanted me to be a blah blah, so that's what I need to be. There's so many reasons why we choose careers, and yet we work for a third of our lives. And if we're in a job that leaves us feeling empty or misaligned, it comes at a really high cost to us.
Yeah, we've only got one life, and I think that I always go back to this analogy of we are the only organism on the planet that we're aware of that actually knows that we are mortal and the end is coming at some point. And yet we don't change what we do, even though it's all going to come to an end. So we might as well make the most of it before it's gone. And you know, if we're absolutely hating life and what we're doing, or our relationship, or where we live, or whatever it is, why do we tolerate it? Because there's not another life, or different religions might believe there is, but tolerating something when it's not forever, and we know that, is just it's a really odd concept.
And I think the short answer is fear. If I had to pick out of a box, one word answer to that conundrum is fear. And I've observed the same thing. You leave a funeral and people say, oh, I'm going to tell everyone I love them, and I'm not going to work as hard, and I'm going to hug my children a little bit tighter, and I'm also going to, you know, look after my body in a way that I have been ignoring.
Take a holiday.
I'm going to take a I'm gonna. And straight after a funeral, you're all guns blazing, and then one day passes, another day passes, and we revert back to the groove that we're
Sitting in traffic, hating life. Yeah.
I mean, the only person that can create change is us. And I think we so often look externally. We think there's a guru who's got the answers. There's a self-help guide. There's someone who's got millions of followers. They must have the answer. Or there's a
lot
coach.
of people that have made a lot of money by doing that too, because I think people are looking for that, aren't they? And it's interesting that perhaps that's not the answer, but people are seeking that as the answer.
Well, I think we're all seekers. I think humans have been seekers since the dawn of time. But now we have different influences and different resources to help us seek. It used to be religion, now it's influences, literal influences. Yes. But I deeply believe, Kate, that all of us, personally and professionally, have a better sense of what we need more and less of, and then we ignore it. And that could be in the health space, it could be work, relational, parenting, all the domains of life. We know when something doesn't feel right.
Yes.
And we know what conditions generally we need more and less of to thrive, to feel a sense of growth or purpose or meaning or delight or joy, whatever it is we want more of. And then we drown it out, or we turn away from it, or we hope someone else will fix it.
So interesting. I have these thoughts all the time about what is written in a book, and then I actually listen to someone's podcast who's been there, done that, and gives the complete opposite advice. But you think a lot of what is taught in university, even taught in school or written in books as guidelines, are the things you're supposed to follow. That if someone's told you don't do that in business, that's stupid, then you're not supposed to do it. And then you're like, well, what if I do it anyway? Or you hear someone else took that leap that you were told that is the worst thing you could possibly do. Who wrote that book? Who had that answer? But it's we do look for these experts that perhaps are experts in their life and not necessarily, it's not the guidebook for everyone.
It's not the guidebook for everyone. And of course, there are some very wise, experienced people, and we can all learn from each other. Yes. So it's not that we can't learn from one another, and there's so much wisdom to share, but not at the expense of tuning into self as well. And nobody else has done BeFit Food. Nobody else has walked in Kate's shoes. Yes. So you can glean wisdom and guidance and mentorship from others, and then you can throw them in the Thermomix, if you like, with the ingredients that you know you need more and less of through your experience of what's helped you. You know, one of my favourite questions to ask people in sort of a job interview situation, if you're applying for a job, is to ask, what do people here, so you're asking the potential employer, what do people who do here who thrive, what are they doing? So you're, instead of saying, what do you want me to be, or me trying to mould myself to you, it's let me get a better understanding of the people who work here. What are they doing? Are they social? Are they not social? Do they have initiative? Are they particularly analytical? So that you're getting a better idea of, are you a match?
Yeah, and that cultural fit too. Are they head down, bum up, nobody talks, stay till it's dark?
Yeah.
Or
because you're getting an idea of what behaviour is rewarded in that workspace. And then you get to choose, so that's your exploration, then you get to choose as a potential candidate, I guess. Yeah. Is that the kind of behaviour that I want to be rewarded for? And you can apply that in a family setting, you can apply that in any system. And I think that's another thing that I've experienced in my own work, is that we're all part of a system, and whether that's a family system, a work system, an organisational system, a team system, we all belong to multiple systems, and making sense of that system is what we all need to do.
Absolutely.
And our role in that system, and how we can help, and maybe how we hinder that system.
So interesting. My human cogs are just ticking. I'm like, okay, take this in. I've got some homework to do. So if you were to look back on your experiences, and you've obviously spoken with thousands and thousands of people, what sorts of, if we're looking for like aha moments in people's lives, right? What often is it when they find that, or how they find it? Is there a common theme where the penny drops? And obviously it happens to everyone at some point in time. Have you observed?
I don't know if there's a universal aha for everyone, because we've all had different experiences. But for me, what's been universal in all of these conversations is how often we feel, or we believe, that our experience is unique to us, that our feelings, that the stories we're telling ourselves, that the experiences we're having, I'm probably the only one. And if I had $1 for every time someone leaned into me, and I talk to people in the checkout, on public, on an aeroplane. I talk to people who pay me, who don't pay me. It doesn't matter. I'm always talking and collecting. So I've heard a lot of stories. And so often people lean in and they'll sort of say, almost like, you've probably never heard this before, and I think I'm the only one who lies in bed and thinks about this, or has this concern, or has this voice, or this story that I tell myself. And I'll say, hit me, share me, tell it to me. And then inevitably, when they do, I've heard it so many times before. So I don't need to sense check it, because I know how universal it is. But when we keep things, our stories, our fears, our barriers, our blocks, our hopes, our dreams to ourselves, we have this false interpretation or assumption that it's only me who has that experience. And I know that's not true. And it's one of the things I'm probably most passionate about, is helping people to normalise whatever their not necessarily their experience, but the emotion.
What drives that message to make people think they're the only one? Like, is there something that drives that? Like, obviously media can drive certain things, and social media can drive certain things, but I'm guessing this feeling has always been there. It's not a new thing.
No, so if we think back sort of anthropologically to the dawn of time, we're hardwired to belong to a tribe. And so we don't want, if you didn't belong to a tribe, you didn't survive, because you're sitting around a campfire. If you and someone at least is watching for the threat, the saber-toothed tiger. Someone else is watching the fire burn. Someone else is peeling the berries. So we've all got sort of a job to do. If you're by yourself, you can't peel the berries, stoke the fire, watch for the saber-toothed tiger. So you probably wouldn't survive. So it's one of our core needs is to belong to a group. So anything that threatens that sense of belonging is hardwired into us as a no-go zone. So sharing a vulnerability like, these are the thoughts I have, and risking rejection, risking judgment, risking isolation, risking being sent out to whatever you think of as isolation.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense to us. That's too frightening, too overwhelming. So I think we curtail sometimes parts of who we are in an attempt to belong, in an attempt to stay attached.
So interesting that we perceive the cost of these things to be so much greater than it is. That speaking up, my example of this, every time I lay and have a massage, I think, I wish they'd just go a little bit harder. I'm not going to ask them to go a little bit harder because then I'm like scared I might hurt their feelings. And I've been for a massage with a girlfriend and she gets in there and I can hear her from the other room going, no, folks, stay on that spot there, a little bit harder there. That's not hard enough. Is there someone else who can come in and go, massage a bit harder? I'm like, oh, there's no way I could even ask, could you move to my lower back? Like I couldn't even speak in there.
So do you want to lie on my metaphoric couch for a moment?
Yes.
So when did you learn that it wasn't safe to speak up and ask for your needs to be met?
Oh, definitely would have been felt in that wanting to belong, being bullied as a kid, called avocado girl. I took avocados to school. My parents ate really well. Had pre-loved clothing because my mum had a pre-loved clothing shop and dad had a knife sharpening van. And I think being teased for turning up in the knife sharpening van, which looked like a special bus is what they called them in my day. So I didn't want dad to pick me up from school. I didn't want to have to wear secondhand clothes. I didn't want to take an avocado to school. But that was my life all day, every day. Picked up in the special van, wore secondhand clothes and ate avocados. So I just wanted to fit in so I can see where that's come from.
So then you want to dial yourself down, dial down your own voice to belong, to fit. So I'll just say what is expected of me, I'll please other people and I'll stay connected. And there's a lot of work that fascinates me, and Gabor Mate speaks a lot about this. He's a psychotherapist and on the world stage, obviously an expert in trauma. And he says we are all hardwired, well, we're all driven towards this sense of belonging that you and I are talking about and that you experience with your avocados and your special bus and the secondhand clothes, or you were seeking. So that's the need for attachment and connection. But we also have a need to be fully ourselves. We have both these needs. And so often we choose the attachment over the authentic because it's not safe to not belong.
Yes.
And when we're not authentically us, that comes at a greater cost because we're pretending. We feel empty.
Yes.
We feel like we've compromised ourselves.
Yeah.
So there's always this rub of connection, authenticity.
I feel so proud when I walk into the massage place and I remember to say, can I please have someone who can go really, really hard? And I want to focus on my lower back. And I'd like to, if I can voice it at the start, I can lay there in peace and know that I've already said it, because then they check in with you. Is this hard enough? Oh, that's great. Would you like me to?
And of course, you're just talking about a massage and it seems like neither here nor there. But that story, I'm going to guess, has long tentacles in lots of parts of your life. It's not just in the massage room. So in business, in marriage, in parenting, in friendship, as a daughter, as a sibling, how do I ask for my needs to be met? And look, if you can sharpen your knives, pardon the pun, in the massage room, dial that, practice that muscle.
Oh, I can see where this can go. It's going to the bedroom.
It can go
from the boardroom.
It can go from the massage room to the bedroom, and go from the bedroom to the bathroom. I mean, not the bathroom, to the boardroom. I mean, it can go to any room because it's you that needs, or that I'm not going to say needs, that wants to be able to ask for your needs to be met.
Yeah.
So practice in the massage and then take it to wherever else you feel you need that more too.
Well, welcome everyone to my seat in my psychological couch. And lastly, tell me a little bit, Sabina. So your journey, Seek, lots of work in media, radio, the Human Cogs podcast, what brings you most joy? What really lights you up?
I think it's the variety, which is why I don't want to be pigeonholed as just a speaker or just a facilitator or just a therapist or just a broadcaster or just. I don't like the word just, actually. There's something about the variety. I'm a lifelong learner. I love working with different people. I like working with people that I feel a connection with, that bring my levels of joy up. I'm a bit of a joy seeker.
Yes.
I like fun, I like laughter, and probably I also had the preconceived idea that in the traditional therapy room it was all serious doom and gloom, and I don't want that. I've since learned, and I'm not doing a lot of clinical work anymore because I'm so busy with other things, but I did learn in my therapy clinician days that you don't need to just have a serious vibe in the therapy room, because people are exploring themselves. They want to have some sense of engagement and connection,
yes.
but also joy as well.
Yes.
Even when you're dealing with the deepest, darkest content, I still think there's room for levity and humour in that space. We can still laugh. We can laugh and cry. We can have these things both be true and sit side by side. And so for me, there's something around the variety of the whole human experience, and that's why I do what I do and why I love what I do. Yeah. No one puts baby in the corner. Isn't that what they said in Dirty Dancing?
Absolutely.
Well, that's probably my motto.
So good.
From a career perspective anyway, yes. And on the dance floor as well.
Yes, I know you're someone who loves to have fun. Whenever I've been around you, there's always lots of laughter.
Yeah.
So, I thank you so much, and it's so great to be in your company, and thank you for sharing. This is the Inspired CEO, and we'll be right back.